Hey guys, Chris here from Mixdown Online. Now, today we're going to talk about mastering. How to do a simple mastering in Cubase 9. Now, my number one rule when it comes to mastering is if you're recording your own songs, mixing your own songs, I would suggest you to send your songs to a mastering engineer. Okay, this is going to give you an extra set of ears on your production. It's always good to work with somebody else as far as mastering goes when you're recording your own songs, mixing and producing your own songs. This is what I do on my side, and this is what I suggest you to do. So that's my number one rule. Now, the reason why I want to show you this today, it's because it's always good to know how mastering works and how to do a simple mastering in your DAW. So today I'm going to show you a very simple way of doing mastering in Cubase 9. Now, you can do this in any DAW. For most of the tutorial, I'm going to use stock plugins, so you can do everything with stock plugins out of your DAW. And on top of that, I'm going to show you some paid plugins and a free plugin that you can get as well. Now, my number two rule when it comes to mastering, make sure when you mix your song, you get to the maximum mixing quality, okay, before you send that to mastering, whatever you're mastering that song or not, or you send that to a mastering engineer. You need to make sure that the production and the mix itself sounds pretty good. This is going to bring your life easier when it comes to mastering. Since the mastering stage is the last stage of music production, whatever you master needs to be top-notch. All right, guys, so let's start this up. First, I'm going to do this in Cubase. You can actually use a software like Wavelab. Wavelab is a very good software for mastering. There's a lot of stuff you can do in Wavelab as far as mastering goes, but I'm going to use Cubase. So first, what I do for mastering, I always set my project setup to 32-bit float. Okay, so I bring that to a maximum bit resolution when it comes to mastering, and I keep the sample rate as it was on the mixing stage. Now, some will upsample to 96K. It's up to you, but I keep it at, like for this one, I mixed it at 48, so I just kept it at 48. Okay, now, if I master several songs, let's say I'm mastering for an EP or a full album, I set myself up a template with all of the plugins, and I make sure after I'm done with one song that I copy all of my plugins to some extra tracks that I add up into the project. Now, I have my single track here, okay, where I'm going to insert all of my plugins, and I have the stereo out right here, where I have some other plugins. Now, these plugins will not affect the sound. My first plugin here that I have on my stereo out, my stereo bus, is the from Sample Magic, is the Magic AB when I do some referencing. I think it's a very good idea to use a reference track during mastering, just to make sure you're in the ball game as far as tone goes and stuff like that. And sometimes it's going to be your client that will send you a song that you can use as a mastering reference. So I use Magic AB from Sample Magic to reference my track. Now, if you don't have Magic AB, you can simply just add an extra track, okay, in your session. Leave that blank without any inserts, without any plugins, and use that to play your reference track. Okay, that's simple. Next, what I have a VU meter. Now, I'm going to show you how I set that up for mastering later on. Next, I have a free plugin from Voxengo called Span. Okay, this is a graphic analyzer. It's free. You can go get it. I'm going to leave the link in the description below. All right, so these plugins are directly on the master bus, okay, on my stereo out. Now, these will not affect my sound. Now, on each track, what I have here, I'm going to start by using a compressor, okay? Let's first have a listen to the mix we have of this song.
Got an invitation to our new world. It's a revelation.
Okay, first I'm going to open my compressor. Okay, I'm going to use the stock plugin out of Cubase. Okay, now this is not my favorite compressor to do mastering, but if I want to just use some tools within the my DAW. I'm gonna use the compressor that comes with it. Now in this case, that's the one in Cubase, and the way I set that up, my starting point is I get to a ratio of 1.5 to 1. So which is a very low ratio. Now my attack time is going to be at around 20 milliseconds. Now this is my start point. I don't want to get it too fast of an attack. I don't want to kill the punch of the song. I want to let the transients through. And my release time, I keep that very smooth at, around 475, 500 milliseconds. Now again, this will depend on the tempo of the song. So this is my starting point and I go from there. Then I try to get a gain reduction of 1-2 dBs, maybe 3 maximum, but I'm going to tend to be between 1 and 2 dB of gain reduction. So let's listen to what it does here.
Got an invitation to our new world. It's a revelation, the living word.
Okay, I get a bit more control, so that's pretty good. Again, in mastering, everything is subtle, okay? All small changes you do, it looks a bit subtle when you play it with the settings of, like, for example, the compressor. It's very tiny moves that I do, but it shows a lot. You can hear quite a difference when you apply it to it, the song in general, opposed to an individual track in the mixing stage. And you'll see that when I'm going to use the equalizer, okay? All tiny moves, all subtle moves, but in the end, it adds a lot, okay? So now if I go down to my my equalizer, okay, I'm going to open frequency, which again is a stock plugin. And this is what I did here as far as the EQ goes. So I have a small cut here at around 250 or so, and maybe 1.9, I think, or 2 dBs or so. Yeah, 2 dBs at 274 hertz. I have another cut at around 440 hertz at same type of cut, around 2.1 dB on this one. And I have another very tiny cut, a 0.8 dB cut at 730, okay, right here. Then if we go to the top end side of the frequency spectrum, again, very tiny boosts, 1.3 dBs in average for each of them. So, everything is very subtle when you're applying EQ on a mastering session. Okay, so if your song is well balanced, well mixed, this is the type of EQ moves you're going to do, very subtle and very effective. So let's listen to a before and after. Okay, I'm going to just bypass the plugin, listen to the song, and then bring back the plugin in, and we'll hear the difference.
Got an invitation to our new world. It's a revelation, the living word. In his kingdom walls.
So it sounds way more open. Very subtle moves, but very effective. Now, the next plugin here that I have, that is a stock plugin as well, is my brick wall limiter, which is a maximizer here. Now, this is where we're going to work the loudness part of the song. And this is when I'm going to use my VU meter. Now, I set that up to -10. dBFS to calibrate my VU meter. So the 0 VU is about -10 dBFS. That's a trick I got from my good friend Ian Shepherd. That is a very good mastering engineer, and Ian has a lot of resources regarding loudness. Okay, I'm going to leave some links in the description below of some articles Ian wrote about loudness. Okay, so by calibrating that VU meter at -10, it's going to get me a very good idea of the best loudness I can bring my song to, Now, when it comes to loudness, what you need to remember is the louder you bring your master at, the less dynamic range you're going to end up with, okay? And this is going to affect the quality of the song, okay? So you need to pay attention to that. Now, the quieter the song, the more dynamic you will get. So this is a very important part that we need to pay attention to. Okay, so I'm going to set that up to -10. I'm going to calibrate my VU meter to -10, and I'm going to aim 0 VU as far as the loudness goes. Okay, I'm going to bring that to 0 for now, and I'm going to show you what it does.
Got an invitation to our new world. It's a revelation, the living word in his kingdom. Walls of doubt come crashing to the ground.
Okay, pretty cool. So, I think that's loud enough for this song. Now, my settings here on this maximizer, I just selected the classic mode. Now, I have my output here, okay, that is set to -0.3. So basically what that does is right here on my master out, it's not going to go above 0.3 dBFS. Okay, it's going to stick below that point. Okay, everything above that will be compressed. Okay, now my mix knob is at 100%, and I just play with the optimize percentage here. So the higher you bring your optimized percentage, the louder it gets. Let's listen to that again and pay attention here to this part of the plugin. This is the signal that gets cut off. Okay, that gets compressed.
Got an invitation to our new world. It's a revelation, the living word in.
Now, there's a lot of other stuff you can do in mastering, but I would just want to keep that simple for this video. I just want to give you the tools to be able to do a simple mastering within your DAW. Now, like I said at the beginning of the video, if you're producing your own music, mixing your own music, I would suggest you to put a bit of money aside and send that to a mastering engineer. But again, it's always good to know how to do a simple mastering in your DAW. So there you go, guys. This is it for today. I hope that was helpful. If you have any comments or questions, you can leave them below, and don't forget to share, like, and subscribe if you're not already. All right, I'll see you next time.